Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tech Economist. We're hearing now that supposedly some people have sources at Tesla, and that we may very well see a new car unveiled in Investor Day. I mean, we've already speculated that this may well be the case, but it's exciting hearing rumours that it could be true. However, at this stage, I think a new model is so expected that if one is not mentioned on Investor Day, it would likely hurt the stock price. But by the same token, if a new model is mentioned, it will likely help the stock price. The market is expecting a new car that is more affordable to the masses, that costs less to build, yet is still profitable, and another delivery method to offer FSD to more people within time, which is where the real money is. I think the vast majority of people think that this will be a compact car, as a result smaller, lower cost, easier to produce, smaller battery, etc. I know Elon said early last year that Tesla are no longer working on a $25,000 car, and to think more about lowest cost per mile driven, rather than cost of ownership. And he's talked about a dedicated robotaxi too. We also have Tesla's car designer Franz mentioning that the best car he has ever designed is the latest Tesla, implying again that there is a new car coming. However, perhaps the compact vehicle is one in the same, and perhaps it will eventually become the dedicated robotaxi, but in the meantime will serve as an affordable Tesla for the masses to get as many out on the road as possible. I think though that the expectation for a new compact Tesla is so overwhelming now, if it's not mentioned, then it will be a disappointment for the market. If it is mentioned, then the effect it will have on the market will be to the extent we see it. Elon might describe what it is capable of, perhaps price points, a few other specifications, maybe even some CGI, or we may even get some sort of reveal. I would expect it would to have its own event for that though. Perhaps we get an announced date of this car reveal then. If Elon starts talking about how much they think they can get the cost down for the car with some real numbers, then the market could get very excited, especially if it's under $20,000 per vehicle. When you add on subsidies and tax credits for that vehicle, it becomes very profitable, especially when you think about how many they may sell. We would also hope for some sort of action plan for this vehicle. It's all very well announcing a new vehicle, but we want to know a path on how to get there too. Currently, there are no factories to build such a car. Will there be an extension in Texas, China, Berlin, a new factory in Mexico, or combination of? Will they be using 4680 cells or LFP? And also some timelines. When might the first of these vehicles start coming off the production line? Can you imagine finally seeing a new Tesla car? We haven't seen an official vehicle preview since the Cybertruck, and that's going back a few years now. And as amazing as that was, it didn't even move the stock. It was incredibly polarizing, but gained the attention of the world, not to mention breaking the window. No such thing as bad publicity. We're now hearing more about hardware 4 too. There'll be supposedly now 11 cameras, 2 new side-facing cameras in the front bumper, and 2 new cameras in the windshield, along with the high-definition radar. There's also 1 spare camera too, which might be exclusively for this new car. This is something I've talked about before, that Tesla can design a car specifically around FSD and robotaxis. I said that the front might be shorter so the car doesn't need to pull out as far when it's turning and can clearly see all the oncoming traffic. However, if there are cameras at the front now, then this will obviously remedy that issue anyway. I've also mentioned that Tesla could place cameras higher up so they can see over things and gain a better view. If these other cameras in the windshield achieve that, then that also makes sense. And then we have the high-definition radar too, which we've heard about before. All in all, it sounds like a lot of upgraded hardware that should give FSD a real boost. Now imagine all this hardware included in a vehicle that is specifically designed for FSD or robotaxis. It should give vastly improved vision and control. This vehicle will be Gen 3. And as it is smaller, it would imply it would weigh a lot less than a Model 3. Brembo also has created a 4-wheel mechanical braking, so no hydraulics, that seem to make braking that much faster, and have been testing them with Tesla Model 3s. There's a chance that perhaps this braking system may also be included in the robotaxi or the new vehicle, and some people suggesting maybe in the Cybertruck too. But either way, if it's in the robotaxi and a lighter weight vehicle, then stopping will be significantly faster than any other Tesla. Why is that so important? Because if you have FSD or a robotaxi, then it means that if a pedestrian or something is in your way, then it can brake so much faster and is thus that much safer. But in addition to that, it doesn't need to be as sensitive. So it sees a pedestrian that might potentially step out in front. It doesn't need to necessarily slow down or brake until closer to the last moment, due to the fact it could potentially brake in a much shorter distance. This would in effect mean a much more natural ride experience without the car having to slow down in case of potential incidents. It's one thing a car being able to drive itself, it's another if it can do it at the same pace as a human driver without having to be as overly cautious the whole day, and thus essentially adding time onto each journey. Look, as you know, I've never been one of the robotaxi hyperballs. Yes, I've done the numbers too, and they do get a little nutty, as Elon says. I've only ever really referred to it as a lottery ticket though. But in reality, the consensus out there is that Tesla are going to show a new vehicle. If it is a robotaxi, then it likely means that Tesla are further ahead with FSD than we knew, and they are more confident in it than ever. However, the market may think it's just Elon trying to pump the stock more. Tesla is facing market saturation. Well, that's not entirely fair, as it's more to do with how high interest rates have become, which means Tesla are lowering prices to gain more demand to sell their vehicles, along with a few other reasons. But the market wants to see a car that will sell in high quantities and is more priced to the masses. The market has been patient and wants to see this next car that will carry Tesla's demand to the next level for the company, perhaps 5 million sales a year, or possibly considerably more. We refer to the expected car as a compact, but we think of it as an affordable car in the price range of around $25,000 to $30,000. And we're also thinking this is what Gen 3 is going to be about. But we don't know. Gen 3 could be a compact car with multiple variants. It could have a 2-door version, a 4-door version, mini crossover version. Tesla could essentially announce 3 or so different model variants in one go, yet sharing many of the same parts and processes due to simpler manufacturing. An announcement like that would certainly surprise the market. They think Tesla really needs to start offering more models. Gen 3 is possibly more of a manufacturing process than actual vehicle, and possibly designed more around FSD and everything Tesla have learned about it since the Model 3. It should be a superior self-driving car. And then perhaps eventually it can become the robotaxi too. A compact car is just going to be much easier to drive itself, what with it being smaller and lighter. It's also more suitable for a single passenger use, which is what the vast majority of taxis and Ubers are, and drivers in general. Bear in mind though, whatever it is, we likely won't see it come off the production line for 2 years. I mean, in theory, perhaps Tesla could have a factory operational in the middle of next year if they broke ground on a new factory soon, but it would have taken 4 years until we see the first Cybertruck come off the line from its reveal. But Tesla have to start building some new factories soon. They need to show growth. Investors are expecting 20 million vehicles a year by the end of the decade. Well, some investors are. Personally, I think that target is sounding a bit too high these days. But who knows? If they can ramp up 4680 factories fast enough, then 20 million is actually still possible. But there's still too many unknowns. Some people are still thinking this vehicle will be for the Chinese market and start giving BYD some serious competition, as it would undercut their prices. But my thoughts are that those subsidies and tax credits are just far too tempting for Tesla to resist, and makes sense building more cars and batteries for that market. If it had a 40 kilowatt hour battery, they get $1,800 just in subsidies, then $7,500 tax credit. It means they can sell these vehicles to the consumer at $30,000 and still get the equivalent price tag of $39,300. There should be enough customers to sell millions of these vehicles in the US at that price point. And it's actually costing half as much as a Model 3 to build. And there's about $20,000 gross profit per vehicle. And that's just for a standard version. There'll be optional upgrades and a software upgrade that cost around $15,000 that some people may also purchase. Tesla could very well drop the price to $25,000 and still make an average of nearly $20,000 profit per vehicle, including all optional upgrades. This is why I think it will take priority first in the US market. I mean, the Model 3 is already about $33,000 in China already, so $30,000 for a smaller car might not have enough impact. Anyway, hopefully we hear more about it in a few days' time. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.